Welcome to Grab 'em by the Songs, the podcast. My name is Kim Lembo, and I'm a Bay Area songwriter and musician. This podcast was created collectively as a way to bring forth some of the most powerful women songwriters around. We wanted to give women a platform to tell our stories about life, creativity, and the journey into music as a language. Our goal is to encourage creative women to share the stories about the songs that inspire us all. We're here in Oakland with, I cannot believe I get to say this, in my studio in Oakland. I'm using air quotes as I always do. Katie Cash is sitting across from me. Welcome, Katie.
Thank you so much.
Audrey on the couch.
Yo.
Trying to make it happen.
Johnny. I'll just repeat what you said.
All right, I'm going to get my shit together. I'm a little starstruck, I have to tell you. It's the first time it's happened.
No way.
It is.
You say that to everybody.
No, I have not said that to anybody. Of course, most of the other people have been my friends. So
we're friends.
But I've been watching you for a lot of years. Like, my friend brought me to the Hard Rock because when I got here, I was not really playing music anymore. And she was trying to she's like, you have to go check out this band. It's going to inspire you. You're going to love it. It's going to be awesome.
Oh, cool.
And I was like, all right, fine, whatever. And I was completely in awe. I mean, your playing is fucking
awesome.
Amazing.
Thank you.
I play guitar, but I can't play guitar. Like, you just move on that instrument in a very unique way. And it's very exciting to watch.
Wow, thank you.
Yeah.
That's good for me to hear because I feel the same. Like, I play guitar, but I can't play the guitar.
Oh, no, you play guitar.
We have guitarists in the room here. I'm not supposed to look at them, but some pretty stellar guitars. But no, thank you.
Don't judge the electric guitar on the wall. That was, I inherited that recently. From a friend who was going to give it away. And I'm like, I want it.
I just played a friend of mine just got a Squire. And she texted me, hey, would you judge somebody if they were playing a Squire on stage? But anyway, I just was at her place and she pulled out the instrument. It had an awesome tone. It sounded great. I'm like, you know what? If your guitar sounds good and it feels good, then that's what matters, The tone, awesome. That's how I feel about it.
I want to learn electric. It's not something I play. I play acoustic, acoustic electric, and I'm much more of a rhythm player, but I kind of like the idea of screwing around with it. And Audrey on the couch is definitely inspiring me to learn slide. Because sometimes she sits there playing slide, and I'm just so jealous.
Audrey on the couch is a badass.
Audrey on the couch is badass for sure. I'm going to read your killer bio. Okay, here we go. The music of Katie Cash harkens to a time when rock and roll inspired revolution. In the manner of legends, she handles her guitar with an unparalleled command, embodying the music with every fiber of her being. Her hair flung as staccato punctuations to the heart she wears right on her sleeve. I'm embellishing. She owns her vocal delivery, swinging you between high and low in an array of lustful richness and provocative rhythms. Perhaps most known for her well-loved band and brainchild, Dolorata, she currently shares lead vocal and guitar duties in Oakland-based bands Year of the Fist and Skip the Needle, gliding between punk rock and rock and soul with graceful authenticity her fans have come to love. Welcome, Katie.
Thank you.
So I went back and did a bunch of research today. I have known of you and certainly been out to hear you play through the years, as we'll come back to later in this podcast. But I watched your fundraising video.
Yeah. Yes.
And I talked about the fact you got your first guitar when you were 12.
Yes.
What was it?
It was, speaking of no-name guitars, I think it was something called an SX1000. What it was a rental guitar that I had lessons for 6 months when I was 12 at a music store called Woolmer's in San Mateo. And so they had instruments that kids could rent, parents could rent for their kids if you couldn't afford to buy something. So it was an electric guitar. I still have it. It's pretty awesome. I've actually wanted to do something with it. But It was $75, and it had, like one pickup, and looks pretty. It's really heavy. It's pretty metal looking, SX1000. So
and you
that
were 12.
Yes, that was my first guitar.
Did you write music on it?
I did, yes. Sorry about that.
It's all good.
I don't know how great the songs were that I wrote on that guitar, but I did write songs.
Do you remember your first song that you wrote?
Yes, I do. It was, so I used to write poetry, still do, but that's what I started doing, was writing poetry before I actually put it to instrument. So I wrote a few things down before putting some music. But the first song that I wrote was about my grandmother, actually, who was my favorite person in the world. And she passed away. Well, she passed away when I was 15, and she had cancer, and we took care of her, through that journey. So I think that I wrote it while she was sick, which was a few years before that.
Do you remember any of the lyrics?
I'd have to think about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure they're in there, but it's been a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you were 15 when she passed away?
Yes.
When do you think you wrote that song? How old were you?
Maybe 13.
Wow.
I wrote some, non-lyric songs. In fact, the first time I played music with anybody else was with my brother, who's a drummer, and he was in a band called the Loudmouths, which is a punk rock band, and his bandmate Beth Allen was a bass player, and my brother was like, "Hey Beth, would you be down to play some music with my little sister?" And I totally remember going to his house in the city and, quote unquote, jamming with them. And we did like 3 or 4 songs, and that cassette is somewhere out there. Those,
You were 13 at the time?
I think I was 13 or 14
when What was it like to walk in the room with, sounds like older kids, a little bit older, and you're walking in with your guitar and about to jam with them? Like what?
It was scary. I used to do that at home with my brother. So when he still lived at home, he had a drum set. I actually wanted to play the drums, but he already played the drums, and so there wasn't going to be 2 drum sets in that house at all. So that's why I picked up the guitar. But I would when he wasn't there, I'd go in his room and play on his drums. So we would play at the house, but going to his place in the city, it was really cool, And I used to go out to his shows when I was quite young as well. I had a fake ID. That was my other brother's, but they messed up and put female on it. So I used it. And it was back in the day, they were old school paper California driver's license, and he was young. So when he was young, his face and my face, we looked a lot alike, and it said female. So anyway, but yeah, that was really cool. We were just talking about that the other day. It's the first time I played, for real in a room with somebody else. They were very nice to do that, and I thought
it's amazing actually to have an older sibling brother, especially
be
like, come play with us.
Yeah,
beautiful.
He was a major influence on a lot of stuff that I did.
Well, it sounds like from the story you were telling earlier, he saved the day on another show for you. Like he came in and played drums.
Yeah, he played with me for a number of years. I had this thing called, I have all these spin-offs of my name, but The Pits. I had a band called The Pits for a few years, and we would do gigs like in the lounge of the Fillmore, the Poster Room, and I did a few shows like El Rio and things like that, and he was the drummer in The Pits.
I remember seeing you at El Rio. I don't know if it was Dolorata or if it was before, but I remember walking in and being like, oh, that's that girl that I saw do at the Hard Rock. Holy crap, she's really good. I think it was, it couldn't have been Mango. It couldn't have been Mango, or it wasn't a dance party, but it was something. There were multiple bands on the bill, and I just remember being like sort of zeroing in on your thing.
Oh, that's cool. Was it outside or inside?
It was outside.
Outside?
Yeah, it was a daytime thing.
I wonder if it was like one of the Memorial Day, because Dolorata did the Shit Kickin' Memorial Day events.
Yeah, it could be. There's been so many. El Rio has been a El Rio is a bar in San Francisco out in the Mission. And there's so many shows. I couldn't possibly remember them all that I've seen at that space. Sitting here with Audrey on the couch many times that I've seen her play at El Rio.
Absolutely. Audrey on the couch and I have played many a show together at El Rio. El Rio was actually one of the clubs that I, at one time, had played the most shows I'd played. You know, they've been very good to me in all of my projects. I'm super grateful to them. In fact, the very first show I played in San Francisco was at the Peacock Lounge, and it was a party. But the second show that I played in the city was El Rio, and it was Twang, when Hillary Reid put on Twang, and this was before Cowgirlapalooza.
Yeah.
So that was the first gig that I did, and that was the Pits with my brother and my friend James Rouse, who is currently in Muñecas, and I'm not sure if he was in a couple other bands, but
I busted out this CD when you walked in today that I realized I had, which is the Coal Pits Wash from 2005.
Yes, that was surprising that you had that.
I know, I was really kind of giggling to myself. I'm like, I'm going to totally surprise these people.
Yeah,
this CD.
That's like a demo right there.
Yeah, that's from 2005, and I think we determined that I got it. It had to have been the Hard Rock Cafe. I don't remember when the Hard Rock even went away.
Right. I can't either. That was that gig was a long time ago.
I'm talking at least 12 or 13 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. I put a lot of miles on this body.
Yeah, me too.
Is there something wrong? I'm just sitting here with my feet tied on.
My mother loved to sing. I think she always wanted to sing, but again, that's something that only we know. People don't know that, you know. And she, no. And she had a really good voice when she would just sing along to things, you know.
I end arguments now with my mom by making her harmonize with me.
Oh, that's cool.
It's like a trick I learned about 3 years ago. Like, we'd be bickering in the kitchen, and I would just pull the guitar out and be like, you know what, why don't you just sing these notes with me?
My mom would love it if I did that. I do not. Maybe I should do that.
It really changed our relationship. We argue way less. Maybe because she knows if we start arguing, I'm going to make her sing.
So she just doesn't even go there.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I'm just not worth it. I don't want to sing. So I definitely want to talk about this record that I've been listening, sort of absorbed in the last 2 days, which I really, really am enjoying it.
Thank you.
Which is Gift Horse.
Yes, I would say it's a step out from anything else I've put out or done. Definitely.
I was born a rich man. My father carried black gun in hand. Mother Mary came rushing in, guilt and blaming, repent my sins. Baby, baby, the sun may shine, and I went down.
I always wanted to do something with those tunes, and so it sort of started with wanting to do something with those tunes, and then also wanting to do a body of work incorporating my community. So, after, playing music in the Bay Area for as many years as I've been playing, I think about all the incredible musicians that I know and work with and I've had the honor and pleasure of working with, and I sort of wanted to bring those people together to create something. And so that's sort of the original version of the vision, was this idea of community. So I actually started this project, I started to sort of, pick a couple songs and piece different players together. I worked with some of the musicians that are actually on the record, some people that didn't end up being on the record, but we did some recordings. I did some recordings at Rob Preston, Get Real. Is it Get Real Productions? Rob's out of Secret Studios.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, Get Real Productions. Rob's awesome. I love working with him. So we actually recorded some tunes. And then I put the project on hold. I decided to go back to school. So I was in my band, Dolorata had ended, and I was in a tribute band called Turbo Negra, which was a all-female tribute band to Turbo Negro. And we were about to leave on our second European tour. And the day before that, I applied to Mills College. And I just sort of had this, like, okay, if I get in, I'm going to go, and if not, I'm not. And I hadn't been in school for probably a decade. So I got back, and I got in, and I went to Mills for...
What did you study?
Music composition.
Awesome.
And yeah, it was quite humbling, which I knew it would be. I had done all my GE transfer stuff when I was younger. I didn't go right to school after high school, and then I did a bunch of work at City College, which was amazing. That school is amazing, San Francisco City College. Yeah. And then I went to SF State and withdrew, and then went into the College of Extended Learning there for recording engineering. Actually, I went into the music industry program there, which was a certificate program at the time, and my focus was recording engineering, which I love. I love all of that stuff and editing.
Is that something
like
you do? Do you engineer now?
I don't, but I get into it when I'm producing my own records, and it's something I actually love to do. And after I got out of that program, I actually bought a bunch of stuff. I had a reel-to-reel, and I had a bunch of equipment, and I recorded, a few people. And then I thought, if I'm going to be really great at something, I got to put all my time into it. And I said, my first love and passion is writing and performing. And so I sold a lot of my gear, and I formed Colpit's Wash, which then became Dolorata. And so that was that time. But fast forwarding, I had never finished my degree. And so I had done all of this work, but I still just had a major to do. And so I applied to Mills, and I got into Mills, and was in for studying music. And I mean, it was intimidating because I had never studied at the level. I had never studied music like most people in that program. They've been studying since they were children. So, and I had this whole thing around, like, I can't do it. I'll never be able to do that. So it was definitely a challenge, and I was humbled every day, but it was wonderful. I think it was a great decision. But during that, so I had put this project on hold, and my time at Mills, I was fortunate to work with some incredible professors there, one of them being Fred Frith. And I had an independent sort of a practicum with Fred Frith, and he asked, what do you want to do with your time? And I said, well, I've had this vision of this record, and maybe we can, go over the songs, composition. So he helped me sort of hone in the focus of the vision.
broken cries. 1 year older, another left behind. Another year gone by. Another year gone by. Twisting, turning, vows are breaking. My heart is yearning. Scratching, crawling, breaking the laws of gravity. Alone in my room, here we go, losing you. Gallows track tons of weighted patterns by my side, and I wait for you while you got better things to do. And I'm tired of these games I won't reprieve. And I stand right here while you are laced in gowns of your fear. And I stand right here waiting for you.
So Julie Wolf produced the record, and I had her in mind to produce it, and so, I mean, I can't, the timeline is a little blurry right now, but I know that it was quite a while after I had graduated, before I even asked Julie. And she, we had a meeting, and she listened to tunes, and she said yes, right there, which was amazing. And so it was sort of just this long time coming, and a lot of different stages of the work to get to the place of actual, producing a product, that's a finished product. So
Once you went into the studio, how long did you go in? How long was that process? Once you had decided, okay, we're in, you'd raised the money, how long did you take?
Actual recording after pre-production and all of that.
Few months, few weeks. Did you do it all in one fell swoop and then build from there? What was
No, it was so pre-production was quite a while, and then once I went into the studio, basics was 3 days, but then overdubs was over a series of, I would say, months. I would say from start to finish in the recording studio to, finished product was well over a year.
Wow.
I'd actually have to look at the timeline to know the exact
That's
amount.
Amazing,
but it
though.
was.
I don't think that people comprehend the amount of time it takes to generate one piece of music.
Absolutely. Yeah.
That we pop in and listen to for 45 minutes.
That's right.
It's hours and hours and hours and hours and hours and hours and hours.
Yeah,
hundreds of hours.
You can, yes, exactly, hundreds of hours. You can spend hours on 3 seconds.
Exactly.
Yeah, there was a lot going on too. I was offered a position at my job, the job that I had. I was offered a different position, which was taking on quite a bit more than I, would take quite a bit more of my time. And the first day, I ended up taking that job. The first day I started that job, I had some, personal things going on in my life, and my father was diagnosed with stage 4 lung cancer that had metastasized to the spine and the bone at the point he was diagnosed. So, and that was 2 weeks before I was to walk into the studio. After, however many months raising money, campaigning, which was after however many months of working towards doing that, and many months of pre-production. So there's this large and long build-up, and this is the moment, right? This is the moment you're going to go in there and do this thing. And it was quite difficult. And I actually was very sick. I got, more sick than I had been in probably 10 years. I mean, I caught some virus or something that had been going around, and it lasted for a few months. I couldn't use my initial tracks, even my basics. I was so ill during basics, which was pretty devastating. But, you know, I wasn't even playing my basic guitar tracks well enough, so I had to redo those. Definitely couldn't do vocals. I mean, there were vocal sessions that had to be rescheduled, redone. So all of that was a challenge, and it was definitely challenging to not let that get me down after the amount of work and put into making it a reality. So, but I didn't, you know, I just sort of forged forward.
Well, I mean, knowing that story now, I feel it in the songs. I feel the truth and intimacy that's coming out of those songs. You know,
Well, that's good to hear, because I would hear back some of the mixes, and I could hear, like, in my voice, oh, you can hear I'm sick, or, you know, in some of the takes. I mean, not all of them, but obviously when you're doing it, you know all the things that go into it, so you can hear everything. You can hear everything.
To clarify, what I hear is that you were, I hear the rawness and the truth. And if, like, I have a theory that I get sick when I'm emotionally, when things are happening, right?
Sure,
My body breaks down. It sounds to me, without being a doctor.
Right.
But, you know, you're an artist and you're sensitive, and part of our work as an artist is to be open, right? So we remain open and vulnerable in particular ways, and it has to go somewhere. And oftentimes it goes in the breakdown of our bodies. I mean,
Right.
That's just, we get sick. So with your father going through what he was going through at the time, it makes sense to me that you got sick.
Right, yeah.
It makes perfect sense.
I know, to me as well.
Yeah. So did you end up pausing and then coming back to it and finishing months later?
So there were some things I needed to pause, sort of some initial sessions. However, you know, sort of my first thought was like, I can't, you know, I don't know how I'm going to do anything, you know, like this new job, this record. And then I just sort of thought about it, and I was like, you know, the last thing my dad would want me to do is, like, quit my job. You know, and he wouldn't want me to halt this process.
Right.
So I just moved forward with everything. And I mean, it was very cool. He invited he and my mother into the vocal day, like the backing vocals or the choir day. And that was really inspiring. I mean, that day was one of my favorite days, or the whole recording session. I mean, they're just, everyone on this record is stellar. You know, they're so talented. The amount of talent I have on this record is unbelievable. I'm just beyond blessed and grateful.
Who's your choir?
So we had Marcel Davies Lashley, Shelley Nicole, Vicki Randall.
Yeah. I hear Vicki. That's why I absolutely heard her.
Yeah. They all have such amazing, distinct voices.
Totally.
You know, I can hear, you know, every time it's like, there's Shelley Nicole, there's Marcel.
So good.
Julie Wolfe sang on some of those tunes in the choir. Marie Garrett, who is a friend of Shelley Nicole's, came through with Shelley. There are some backing vocals that include Shelley Doty, Coffee Brown, Margaret Belton, myself. I think
it's like the who's who. I just want to clarify. It's like the who's who of the Bay Area.
Well, in New York, we had New York representing in there.
Yeah, so. Definitely had New York represent Brooklyn specifically.
Which is amazing.
Right? But I mean, that's like a who's who. And by the way, I took a note. I'm like, oh, that's totally Julie playing piano on that track. It's Broken Nights, which just is so gorgeous.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, her playing on that's incredible.
Yeah.
Julie really rearranged that song. So she has a major arrangement credit on that song.
On broken nights, reflections. Bright, shining lights.
The biggest surprise for me, and the most pleasant surprise of this album, is to hear the softness that came out in this record. It was really beautiful.
Right on. Thank you very much.
Yeah, and Broken Dreams or Broken Nights, excuse me.
Broken Nights.
Broken Nights.
Julie really stretched me in the recording of that tune. So that song was, got rearranged for several different reasons, and I just love the result of the arrangement of that. And the players on this record are epic. So on that song, it's Julie, James DePreto on guitar.
James is amazing.
He's amazing. He's just he's got all the goods.
He's on a few. I've recorded some stuff with Adam Rossi and some of those guys.
Oh,
some
okay.
of the Chuck Prophet guys, just through this other whole thing.
Yeah.
And James is on those songs.
He's so tasty. Just
Super
everything
tasty.
he does.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, when Julie let me know about him and said, I think I got guitars for this. That might be a great fit. And first meeting with him, just the stuff he did with the tunes, just in his house, was like, oh yeah, let's do this for sure. So he, everything he does on this record is gorgeous. But he's on that tune. Mike Sugar on bass on that song, and Allie Miller on drums on that tune. It's a beautiful arrangement. And then in the studio, when we were, laying down vocals on that, Julie really stretched me, because I had one way that I had been singing it, and she just sort of, she totally produced that tune and totally produced my vocals on it. Said, what if we, try breaking that down and just sort of have more of a Tom Waits feel, like sort of more of a speaking feel rather than totally singing it. And we, went round and round over it. And, as you do in the studio, I mean, you can go over something however many times and you can lose your mind in there. But this was one where it was getting to me. I was really she broke me a little bit. I was, on the verge of cracking or tears or something in there. And she got a great take from it.
Oh, absolutely.
So.
I love the visual of her producing it from kind of soups to nuts, meaning, it's one thing to produce the music and sort of let the vocals go, but she really understands, from everything I've heard she's produced, right? I've listened to a lot of her work. I think she's amazing. I think all these women
incredible.
are amazing. I've been watching the careers through the years, just as an audience member. But I think that's Julie's, I think that's her superpower.
Yeah, it's one of them. She's got a lot of superpowers. Yeah. Working on this record with her, I learned just how many superpowers she has. I didn't know about all of them. I also saw her as an audience member, from when I was a teenager, going to Ani DeFranco shows. And I remember, before she was in that band and then when she came in that band. And actually, the records that were put out once Julie joined, I loved those records. Mm-hmm. And working with her and playing music with her and, seeing her play other shows as well, I really get how that's Julie's sound. There was a show that Julie played with Shelley Doty at the Freight and Salvage, and there was a recording of it, and Shelley and I were listening to it, and I just had this body memory as I was listening to this recording, and I realized what it was this body memory of listening to some Ani records, mm-hmm. and the certain vibe and musicality and tone and just sounds in general. I realized, oh, that's Julie. I'm hearing this now because that's Julie playing on my friend Shelley's show, and then I'm having this body memory of it's just ingrained in there, and that's Julie's touch on those records.
Yeah.
That's Julie's touch on those songs, and just how uniquely Julie it was. And that was really cool to realize so many years later. And now I can feel that in my own music when I play with Julie. It's like, oh, here's Julie coming in when I play shows without Julie, when I play shows with Julie, It's
Julie Wolf, we're having a moment for you right now.
Julie Wolf.
I think we invoked you in the room, and you are loved, clearly. Amazing. Well, we had talked a little bit about this. I don't know if it'll make it in we'll see with editing how it comes back around. But, we talked about your sobriety a little bit and about living as a sober woman and being a sober musician specifically. Yes. Of which I also have had a little bit of experience off and on back in the 80s. And I'm curious if it's tied into, I don't know, the vulnerability in this record, like coming into it as a sober person. Could that be part of, is that part of it? Am I making things up?
No, I don't think you're making things up. I would say that it definitely affects the outcome of this record. It's interesting because some of these songs were written before I was sober. Mm-hmm. I would say, actually, a good number of them. But yes, they have changed forms. I would say during the process, as well as this record in general. I would say that the most obvious impact is that this record wouldn't exist if I was not sober. Mm-hmm. So I think that the songs exist. I would say that the different moments of vulnerability, different performances, maybe a record would exist, but the way it has turned out, and I would say calling in the people and musicians on this record, I strongly believe that wouldn't happen if I wasn't sober. And that just has to simply do with my own level of self-love, really. I would say that I spent a life not loving myself, and I would say that in my sobriety I've started to learn to love myself. And in doing that, I started to accept that, no, I can do this. Like, I can make this record, and maybe these people want to be on it as well, whereas before I'd be like, no, I'm not gonna, I'm definitely not good enough. I definitely can't ask that person. They're definitely not gonna want to play with me, So, and that's definitely, that's plagued me always. I don't, I say this, and I would say this is pretty vulnerable to say into a microphone, but yeah, I could play a show that was a great show, then it was whatever club I was in, it was sold out, and everyone was like, that was fucking amazing, my God, people are blown away, I've got every compliment possible. And, I'd go home and spend 3 hours thinking about, like, was I weird in that conversation?
Totally.
Did I say something? Like, God, how did I, I've done that for years. And people that know me very well know this, Anyone would hear this would say, oh, yeah, I was on the other side of that very annoying, obsessive train. And for me, my sobriety is, it's all about that. It's, working with that aspect of my brain and learning some tools to work with that side of it, and quiet that voice that still there. It absolutely wants to tell me, wanted to tell me today, like, you are not going to sound very good when you talk about your music and stuff. It wants to do that all the time. But I would say that being sober and working and really working on my recovery, because you can not drink, but that's, it can get worse if you're not really working on recovery. So to really work with, your own personal demons, your character defaults, whatever you want to call them, I think that's really where that shifts my, life and paradigm and my own happiness. And so I feel like all the things that I was able to accomplish and all the things I was able to manage. I mean, I would say some of the hardest things have come up in my life around my sobriety, and being able to really hold those and manage those and still, push through and create something that I'm proud of has a lot to do with my sobriety.
I was talking over you a little bit, and I apologize for that. I resonate very much with that whole critical mind. And part of that critical mind, I feel like, as an artist, lives in our community pretty firmly. I don't know very many artists that don't have some form of it, some worse than others, some more debilitated by it than others, It debilitates the creative process.
Right.
It's debilitating to worry about those things when you've had this killer experience, killer show, killer night, as you very eloquently described, and to go home and to focus on I understand.
Yeah, something that doesn't matter, really.
Something
to focus
that doesn't
on something
matter.
That doesn't matter.
And probably isn't true.
And this is just me. This is not to say, this is just my experience.
Right.
I know that there's plenty of amazing artists out there that, have an opposite experience of mine around any sort of, addiction or, sobriety or not, not sobriety. This is just my experience with it and what it sort of how I see how it's played out in my life, and how it's affected what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I have to say, again, I've been living in this record since you sent it to us, maybe yesterday or 2 days ago.
Yeah.
And it's a gorgeous piece of work, and
Thank you.
I would be very proud. I encourage
Thank
you
you
to be very proud.
I am very proud. Thank you very much. I'm very grateful and proud of it. Yeah, I'm blessed. That's how I feel about
Beautiful.
This record and the folks involved.
Where there's things that I want you to tell me about stuff that's going on, but I want to find out, where can someone get this album? Tell us all the details.
Well, you can get it on my website, which is www.katiecashmusic.com, and there is a store link on that website that goes to Bandcamp. You can get it on Bandcamp. You can get it on CD Baby. You can get it on iTunes and all of those sorts of things as well. However, if you do buy it directly from the artist, as you know, as an artist, you get all of the money that goes towards the album. So, but it is available through many different digital,
Excellent.
distribution sites.
What projects are you working on other than this? I know you're doing something for the Sarah Bush dance project.
Yes.
Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, so I'm in two other bands. Year of the Fist, which is a punk rock, heavy rock and roll band, which is very active and very good, and I love being in that band. And a band called Skip the Needle is like a rock and soul kind of band. And Skip the Needle has been asked to compose the music for the Sarah Bush Dance Project show that is happening this year called Spirit and Bones. So we're really excited about that. I feel very honored to be asked to write the music for that. That is happening in October at the Atrium Theater, which is a new venue within the War Memorial Building in San Francisco.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And,
the Atrium?
Yeah, the Atrium.
Okay.
Atrium Theater at the SF War Memorial. And those performances are October 26th through 28th.
Will you be the house band for the performances as well?
So we're writing the music and we're performing in the live performances, yeah. So that's really exciting, and you can find out more information about that at sarahbushdance.org.
And the name of that show is Spirit and Bones?
Spirit and Bones, yes. Okay. And it's an all-female crew, band and dancers, ranging in ages 20 to 70. So it's pretty exciting.
Outstanding.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm super excited to check that out.
And they are raising funds also for this, because anything this big is pretty challenging to do on your own. So reaching out to the community is a good way to do that. And there's more information about that as well at the same website that
Okay.
you get for donations and
Terrific.
support.
Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me.
Well, I'm hoping I can get you to sing a song. Would you be willing to play something live for us?
Yes,
You would?
I would.
It's very exciting. You have been listening. This is Grab 'em by the Songs, the podcast. I am Kim Lembo, and we have Katie Cash here in the studio with us in Oakland, and she's going to play a song for us.
Excellent.
Cold winter nights with my dreams on the wings of today. And I thought about the time when that switch wasn't turned. Time draws a line so our hearts won't get burned. And I have learned, never look a gift horse in the mouth. No, ain't it funny, all the things that we say out of fear. Pages and pages of my words that come out wrong. Now I've paid the wages to the rights of another song, and I was wrong. Never look a gift horse in the mouth. Never look a gift horse in the mouth. And so I am here, laying tracks of my history one by one. But my winter nights aren't as harsh as God, and I never really cared about long golden hair. Never look a gift horse in the mouth. Never look a gift horse in the mouth. Never look a gift horse in the mouth. I'll never look a gift horse in the mouth.
You've been listening to Grab 'em by the Songs, the podcast. To learn more about us, visit us online at grabembythesongs.com.